Hi guys, so I'm gonna be teaching you guys everything you need to know about graphics design in this series. I'm going to be teaching you what you need to do, how you need to do it to become a great graphics designer, and ultimately to make money or even get a job as a graphics designer, or you even do freelancing if you want. So I've had over a decade of experience in graphics design. I've been designing way back, so I would love to share this knowledge with you. So let's just dive right into it. If you know you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. Just push that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you know whenever I drop a new video in this series. I know a lot of you must have come across graphics design. You must have seen a lot of designs. You must have known probably many designers. But I'm going to tell you that whatever design you're into, if you lack these basic skills or knowledge that I'm going to be teaching you in this video, trust me, you haven't even started your design journey yet. But if you really, really want to know, please make sure you watch to the end of this video. Now let's jump right into it. What is graphics design? Graphics design is a combination of text, images, colors, and shapes to form a visual representation of an information. You know, when somebody wants to pass a message to a group of people or their audience and they decide to be like, okay, I need to pass this information in the most eye-catchy and pleasing way to my audience, to my target audience, to my subscribers, to my customers, whatever it is you're designing, you need to find a way to actually pass that message across that would even make your audience want to receive that message. Basically, that is what graphics design is. You represent certain information with a visual storytelling, a visually pleasing document or image so that people can actually receive that information and get the message which you're trying to pass across to them. So now let's move on. In graphic design, we have several elements, that is, the things that make up an entire graphics. And in every design, you will definitely find one or more of these elements in that design. So the first one here is dots. Yeah, dot. You know, dot is actually just dot. Yeah, just dot. Something like this, just this dot. And that's only what it is. Dot is the simplest form of design element that you can get anywhere. And immediately after dot, we have line. Imagine you have two dots and you want to connect both dots together. You need to draw a line to connect it. So that is how we generated a line. So line is basically a line as well. It's just as simple as that. It's not as difficult or as complicated as many people think. It's just as very simple as it is. A line is a line, a dot is a dot. Shape. Yeah, just imagine you drawing a line and you move it around in a circle. And what do you get? You get a shape. You get a circle. For the shapes, we have so many shapes. We have triangles, we have squares, we have rectangle, we have pyramid, whatever it is. Any shape you can think of, it is being drawn with a line. And now we have text as well. Text is very simple. It's just text. Text, you simply just type your name, use the fonts, anything at all. Whatever the information is that you want to pass across, you simply make use of a text to pass that information, to write out that information. Now we also have the size. Size can be in many forms. You can talk about the size of the design, the size of the canvas, the size of the font, the size of the shape, the size of the line. Everything that has to do with values in terms of you entering a specific figure for any of your design elements, it actually has to do with size. You can increase the size of your text to 12 points, or you can make it 50 points, or you can make it 5 points, whatever works for you, depending on what you're actually designing. And also we have color. Color is everywhere. Everything we see has a color except for, water, obviously. Now we have the next one, which is the graphics design principles. These are the principles that you need to know. There's no two way around this. There's no way you can bypass this. If you're a beginner in graphics design or you are already a graphics designer, these are some of the things you need to know. You cannot just do without these things. If you have good knowledge about these principles, you're going to be able to create stunning designs. Professional looking designs. Don't skip this video. Don't skip this part. Make sure you watch this part very, very well. It is going to be the foundation of your graphics or creative journey. Now, the first one is emphasis. Emphasis is just how you show the most important thing in your design, what you want people to see, what the first thing that actually catches their attention, the first thing that their eyes goes to read. And I have a sample of a design that I made sometimes back here, Getaway Friday. It's obvious that whenever you see this design, you are going to see two things first. Number one is going to be the getaway text. Now, why would you look at this getaway text first? Why? Because it is positioned and emphasized in the design. It is positioned in a way where your eyes has no other choice than to look towards that direction. You need to just look at it. That is one of the first things you see if you're looking at this design close up. You're going to be able to see it instantly, just at a glance. Why? Because it has been emphasized. So you emphasize certain elements in your designs to make sure that your audience or your viewer actually views or sees it first. So let's move on. Contrast. Contrast is very simple. You just make sure you always use contrasting colors for elements placed on top of each other. Look at the illustration on the right side of my screen now. It might be difficult for anybody to see the text on this background. Why? Because they are both more or less the same tone. You can't put a dark color on a dark color. You can't put a deep color on a deep color. You should use a contrasting color like the one below. You have a deep color and a light color. I hope you understand. A solid color and a bright color. Just like that, you'll be able to contrast your element to make it visible and readable to whoever your viewer is. Proportion. Proportion is actually all about the sizes of your element that resonates with their purpose and the general size of the canvas. Now, for some of you that do not know what a canvas is, don't worry. I'm still going to talk about what a canvas is. So just make sure you watch this video to the end. Look at the two illustrations I have there. The big one here is actually too big. The text is way too big on the background, and we can see the text obviously, but it seems too big. It looks unprofessional. If it is too small as well, it will look almost unreadable at some point to some people. So always try to make sure that the sizes of your elements are reasonably big or reasonably small. Shouldn't be too small, shouldn't be too big, it should be normal, it should be reasonable. Though for you to make one of your, maybe a particular element, probably that's where you want to put your emphasis on. You can make it bigger, obviously, so that the eyes can go there first, or the eyes can see it first. But that doesn't mean you should make all of your elements bigger, or every other text bigger, or every other shape, or every other image is bigger. I'm sure as we go on in this course, you're going to be understanding more of this, but you need the basic knowledge in every of these principles to be able to, create amazing designs. Now we have white space. White space is basically the amount of room that you give for your elements in your designs to breathe. It actually makes your work look a lot more professional, neat, clean, organized, and beautiful ultimately. And I'm sure you must have seen a lot of design that adds so much room. Now, when I talk about white space, it doesn't mean that the space has to be white. No. It could be black. It could be any color for that matter, but it's just you giving room to the elements of your designs. So the next one is movement. Now, movement is an amazing psychological principle that helps you direct the focus or the eyes of your viewers to a particular direction. So for instance, if you look at the illustration on the right side, you would see that we have three circles. Ordinarily, the way the human eyes work is that they're going to be attracted to the first and the biggest circle of all, because that is where the emphasis is. It's actually bigger. It's easy to see. It's the first thing you see. Then you notice that when you look at it, you first of all see the big one, you see the big circle, and you want to look at the second big circle. It's not as big as the first one, but it is bigger than the last one. So your eyes is going to go to the second big circle before you come down to the third small circle. That is how the human eyes work. You move from the place where there is emphasis to the place where there is least emphasis. I hope you understand that. If you look at the second illustration as well, you will see that this one is quite easy. Your eye will simply follow the first circle to the second circle to the third circle because of what? The kind of emphasis that is being placed on each of those circles. So the bigger a text is, the bigger a shape is, the bigger an image is. It simply shows that this is where you put in your emphasis, and this is where you want all your audience to first look at. Okay, so you make sure that you psychologically control, or should I say unconsciously control your audience or viewers to view in certain directions. So that is what the movement principle is all about. And the next one is balance. Now, balance is quite simple, very, very simple. You just make sure that you balance the left and the right and the center. You make sure that everything is even out. Everything makes sense the way they are. And it's actually not something difficult. But if there is no proper balance in the design, it makes it look very, very amateur. It makes you look like it wasn't done by a professional. So if you want your job to look professional, if you want your designs to look professional, you must be able to balance your entire design, starting from the topic to the subtopic to the subtitle to whatever it is that you're designing, the image on the left, the text on the left, the right, the left text on the left, the text on the right. Everything has to be balanced. Now, there are two types of balance. The first one is the symmetrical balance. That is the illustration we have above here. It's symmetrically balanced because it is the same size that you have on the left, you have on the right. The same size you have, the same size of text on the left, the same size of text on the right. The same kind of arrangement you have on the left, the same kind of arrangement you have on the right. So basically it is symmetrical. Now, the second one below is the asymmetrical balance. The asymmetrical balance simply means that some of these elements on the left and the right may be the same size, but they may not be put in the same position or on the same lane as the symmetrical balance. But that doesn't mean it is not balanced. Just because it is asymmetrical balance doesn't mean it is not balanced. Trust me, it is balanced, and as we go on, we're going to be understanding many of this more. Now, repetition. Repetition is also very simple. It's just you repeating a particular text or a particular shape or a particular element in series. Once you repeat it in series, you're going to be getting a pattern. Like the illustration on the right now, you can see that I have a circle, I have a square, I have a circle, I have a square, I have a circle. Now, this is now being repeated. It's now being repeated and repeated and repeated, and it forms a pattern. That is how patterns are created. When you repeat certain elements over and over again, it begins to form a pattern. It ultimately forms a pattern. So patterns are created by repetition. If you should check the fabric of your clothing sometimes that are designed, you'll be able to recognize that, okay, this fabric was actually made out of pattern. The design is actually made in form of a pattern. So basically that's what repetition is. Then alignment. Alignment is also very important. It makes your work look very, very organized. Alignment helps with how elements are arranged, and it shows high level of organization and professionalism. Yeah, it's not as complex as we think. It's just the same way we, align your text to the left in Microsoft Word, align your text to the right, or align to the center. It's basically the same thing. So we have the align to the middle. You can align to the middle. You can align to the top, align to the bottom, left, center, right, everywhere, just align your text, align everything to make sure that they're actually looking very good and more professional. So the next one is typography. Now, typography is actually a big deal because if you do not use the right fonts for the right designs, your design, even though it's beautiful, it may not look like what it's supposed to look. It may not feel like what it's supposed to feel like. The choice of text that you need to use has to resonate with the purpose or the type of design you are actually making. Don't worry, all of this things will still be discussed as we go on in the courses. But I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm just trying to make sure I just touch every area that is very, very important. But I tell you that this is the foundation of your creative journey as a graphics designer. So please make sure you continue to watch to the very end. Now we also have colors. Color is actually color. You basically add color to make things more beautiful. You basically add more, you add colors to make your work, more pleasing to the audience. And there are infinite number of colors, if you would ask me. Ultimately, what I would say is this: no matter how beautiful you want your design to look, you don't necessarily have to use different multiple colors in your design. Once you use 2 colors, 3 colors, you're fine. You don't have to, put yellow, green, purple, green, blue, red, everything. Just push everything into a particular design. It makes your work look so, everything is just so bright and everything is just so rough and so, I don't know how to put it. It makes it look so unprofessional, except if you are very good with your craft and probably the purpose of which you are making that design is probably for maybe a design that has to do with kids. Maybe you want them to see certain color, you want them to see certain things and all of that. So I think that it's actually fine, provided you know how to, combine all of those colors to make it pleasing to the eyes. But anything aside that, just using 2, maximum 3 colors in any of your design will be fine. Now that we are done with the principles of graphics design, all of them, now let's talk about the graphics design softwares. Yes, we have lots of graphics design softwares. I'm just going to be mentioning a few. We have Adobe Photoshop, Adobe InDesign, Adobe Illustrator, CorelDRAW, GIMP, Zara, Designer, Sketch. We also have Canva, we have Figma. Some people use Figma for designs now. And I was even surprised somebody was using Premiere Pro to make designs. And, you'll be shocked and surprised and amazed about what people can actually do with any of these tools. So what we will be using basically for this training is going to be Photoshop. I'm sure many of you must have had a Photoshop at some point or the other, but we're going to be using Photoshop for this training. And because of that, I'll leave a link in the description where you can download Photoshop, even if you don't have it yet, if you don't have it installed on your system yet for you. So please go check the description below. You see the link to download Photoshop there. Now that we are done with the introduction to graphics design, I'd like to introduce you to Photoshop as well, because we are going to be using Photoshop for our design. So now let me just open Photoshop for you. Now you can see this is what it looks like when it's booting up, when it's trying to load. So basically this is Photoshop 2020. So this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like when you have it here. Sometimes you might have some buttons here and create new and all of that. But let's just come here and we create new. Or you can use Control N as well. The shortcuts to many of these functions are actually written there on the function. So for new, you can use Control N. So let's just click new and go into it. Now this is where you can add a title for your design. If you want to name it training, let's just call it training. Call it training. And now we have pixels, we have inches, we have centimeters. These are just measurement parameters. You can decide to use pixels, you can decide to use inches, whichever one works for you. But personally, I love to use pixels. Pixel is like the smallest unit of your screen or of an image. I love to use pixels. So let's say, for instance, the size of the design we want to make is for Instagram, maybe an Instagram post or something. So we can easily just, give it a size here. This is the width. This is the height. You give it a size. So let's say I'm going to be going with 1080 pixels. 1080 by 1080. Basically 1080 by 1080, because Instagram size post for feed is actually 1080 by 1080. So basically that's just going to be it. So now the resolution aspect, you can actually, sometimes you might find 72 here. 72 is not that bad. But personally, I love to use at least 300 for any of my designs. At least 300. So I love to set it to 300. I'm going to tell you how this actually affects the quality of your design or the image that you eventually create. Now the color mode, I love to set it at RGB. You see some other options there, but RGB is fine. And you can leave this at 8-bit as well. Now this should be transparent background. I love it to be transparent, so I can add whichever color I want to the background. But you can, play with any of this if you want, but I love it to be transparent. So then once you're done with all of these settings, just click create. Immediately you click create, then you have your canvas. Now let me introduce you to this entire screen. This is the menu bar, this is the toolbar. So these are like different panels that have different functions. Some of them you don't need at all. Some of them are actually quite very important that you definitely need. And there's a lot of things you can do. Now, this entire place is called the workspace. I mean, this dark background and this Canva. This is the Canva I was talking about earlier. This is the size of your Canva, 1080 by 1080. That is the size of your Canva. And this entire place is called the workspace. It's called the workspace. Everything all together is called the workspace. So the canvas is inside the workspace. So this is where everything you do will be visible. Every image, every text, anything you want to do, this is where it will be visible. If you download the Photoshop that I left the link in the description, you would see this is how your Photoshop will also look like. You'll be able to see the instruction, the name of the tool, the instruction on how to use that tool or what it is meant for. You'll be able to see it once you just hover your mouse on top of it. You don't need to click, just hover your mouse on top of it. It's going to pop up with the name and how to use it and what it does. This is where we're going to stop this episode. So trust me, the next video, you're going to make your first design. Yes, it's going to be amazing. You're going to make your first design and it's going to be lovely. I'm going to take you through a process of creating a very simple design as your first design. And from there, we kick off. I'm going to be sharing a few more things that you need to know. But trust me, all of the principles that we've learned today is going to be very, very essential. From now on, any graphics design you see, begin to try to locate the principles that I've taught you, these principles that I've taught you, begin to try to locate where they are being used in that design. It will help you to know how other graphics designers have been, placing their jobs, placing their elements, giving it sizes. You'll be able to familiarize with yourself with what a good design looks like. You'll be able to judge that, okay, this contrast is good, this contrast is bad, this is good, the movement of the eyes, the white spacing, the alignment, the typography, the type of font that is being used, the proportion of each of the elements, the movement of the eyes, everything that has been taught you. Try to find it in other people's design. If you're able to find and locate these things in other people's design, then you will have no problem in using it in your own design that we're going to be making and that we're going to be doing in the next video. Now, for everyone, I'm going to drop the link to download this template that I used in teaching you. I'm going to leave a link in the description. So find it and download it so you can have it just for yourself, So please, if you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, give me a thumbs up. It's going to help me create more of these videos. If you have any question, please don't forget to drop it in the comment section. I'm going to answer every of your questions. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.